It was in the evening, and the soft sunlight filtered through the clouds, casting a gentle glow on the balcony. You sat there wrapped in a cozy shawl, your diary open on your lap. The pen in your hand moved slowly as you wrote down the thoughts that danced in your mind. She waits not for the sun to rise, but for a love that never dries. Her heart a garden in the rain, hopes for warmth through every pain. Your lips curled into a sad smile as you read the lines. They mirrored your own life too well. A girl waiting, hoping, longing for a love that seemed out of reach. The gentle breeze playing with your hair as it offering silent comfort. Ding dong. The doorbell rang, pulling you out of your thoughts. You quickly closed your diary, placing it on the small coffee table, and hurried to open the door. Standing there was your husband, John Jungkook, his face as cold as ever. He had just returned from his office, where he spent endless hours as a successful CEO. Good evening, you greeted softly. He had barely acknowledging you, his eyes held no warmth as he moved past you into the living room. His broad shoulders, wrapped in a black blazer, seemed to carry the weight of the world, but none of that burden was ever shared with you. You quickly went to the kitchen and filled a glass with water, bringing it to him. He took it, gulping the water down, and wiped his lips with the back of his hand. "Where is Mom?" he asked, his tone flat. "She went to meet her friend," you replied, folding your hands in front of you, trying not to fess it under his indifferent gaze. He sighed, a deep, unweary sound, then turned and headed upstairs to your shared bedroom. You stood there, the empty glass in your hands, feeling like an outsider in your own home. The silence that followed his departure wrapped around you, heavy and suffocating. You slowly walked back to the balcony, picking up your diary once more. The pen trembled slightly in her grasp as you scribbled down more words. Her days are shadows passing slow, her nights are stars that never show. She whispers love into the air but finds no answer anywhere. A soft breeze blew as if echoing the loneliness in your heart. You closed your eyes, a sigh slipping past your lips. Jungkook, why did you marry me? When you don't like me? Till when you will hate me? The thought lingered heavy and unanswered. You knew he wouldn't respond even if you had the courage to ask him directly. His silence was an answer of its own. You forced yourself to get up and headed to the kitchen. Preparing dinner became a routine, a distraction from the ache in your chest. You chopped vegetables, stirred pots, and let the clattering of utensils fill the empty space of your mind. The doorbell rang again. You wiped your hands on a towel and went to open the door. This time it was your mother-in-law. A bright smile on her face, and beside her stood a woman with a pearl necklace and a soft blue dress. "Ah, there you are, Ryan," your mother-in-law greeted, stepping inside. "This is my friend, Mrs. Kim. I brought her along to see my son's house." You smiled politely, moving aside to let them in. "Please come in. Make yourselves comfortable." They settled in the living room, their voices filling the quiet space with cheerful chatter. You hurried to bring juice for them, placing the glasses gently on the coffee table. "Thank you, dear," Mrs. Kim said, offering you a warm smile. You nodded, stepping back to give them space. "So, how long have you been married now?" Mrs. Kim asked, turning to your mother-in-law. "1 year," your mother-in-law answered, but her tone lacked the usual joy of a proud parent. "But no good news yet." You froze, your hands twisting the edge of your apron. The implication was clear. The good news she referred to was the expectation of a grandchild, a topic she had brought up more than once before. Is there a problem? Mrs. Kim asked cautiously, her eyes starting to you. Your mother-in-law's lips pressed into a thin line. Well, I don't know. It seems my son is too busy with work and while she hasn't been able to, fulfill her duties as a wife. Your cheeks burn with embarrassment, the words cut deep, and the shame pulled in your chest. You opened your mouth to respond, but no words came out. Maybe she needs to try harder, Mrs. Kim added lightly, as if offering advice. You felt your knees weaken, but you forced yourself to stand still, your hands clenching into fists beneath the apron. Maybe she is not fertile. Who knows? Your mother in law said through the corner of her eyes, not knowing what's going on in your life. My daughter in law became pregnant within 3 months of marriage. I think she has a problem. One, try to be loving with your husband. Anyways, you don't have any work except taking care of house, right? She said while sipping juice. It will stop time. She doesn't listen to us, and I wonder she will give grandchild to me, she said, scrunching her face. Excuse me, you whispered, backing away. The kitchen became your refuge once again. The walls a safe barrier against the hurtful words. You gripped the counter, your breath shuddering. Tears pricked your eyes, but you swallowed them down. You had learned not to cry too easily. Jungkook's indifference had taught you to hide your emotions well. One day you murmured to yourself, one day I'll find love, real love. Picked up your diary again, sitting on a small stool by the window. The pen moved slowly, writing the words your lips couldn't speak. She dreams of arms that hold her tight, of whispered love in quiet night. But all she finds is empty space, a love that hides without a trace. You didn't notice the door of the bedroom opening upstairs. You didn't see the figure standing at the top of the staircase, his dark eyes watching you from a distance. Jungkook stood there, his expression unreadable, his hands were in his pockets, and his jaw was set. He had heard the conversation, every word sharp and clear, but as always, he remained silent, a ghost in his own home. Downstairs, you continued writing, pouring your heart into ink and paper, unaware that someone else was finally seeing the cracks in your carefully constructed facade. It was night and you went to the bedroom where Jungkook was reading a book. You glanced at him when you entered the room, and he did too, but neither of you spoke. You walked to the wardrobe, picked your nightdress, and went to the bathroom to change. When you came back, Jungkook had already fallen asleep. You sighed, holding back your emotions. You took some pillows from the wardrobe and placed them on the bed, creating a clear boundary down the middle. Jungkook had asked you to do this whenever any of your family members visited. Good night, Jungkook, you said softly, but he didn't reply. You knew he was only pretending to sleep. You lay on your side, staring at the wall as memories of your wedding flooded back. You had been in the same room, wearing your wedding dress, holding back your tears. Your father had been frantically trying to find the groom who had run away with his girlfriend. Your father had spent so much money on your wedding, guests were waiting. You felt like your marriage had collapsed before it even began. The fear of societal insults and humiliation overwhelmed you. Then a tall, handsome man with a strong aura had entered the room. Jungkook had arrived with his father, who was your father's childhood friend. What happened, Chai? Jungkook's father had asked. The groom ran away, your father had said, his voice breaking. Jungkook's eyes had landed on you. You stood there, a broken pride, his father had then said. Don't cry, Chai. My son will marry your daughter. You and Jungkook had both been shocked. His expression was unreadable. It was as if his father had just asked him to give up his own life. Dad, Jungkook had started, his voice low. Jungkook, you have to do this, his father had said firmly. If it weren't for my friend, I wouldn't be where I'm today. He helped me when I had nothing. Now it's our turn to help. Jungkook had never said no to his father, not once in his entire life. He didn't refuse this time either, and so he married you. He remembered standing in the aisle, exchanging vows. At that time, hadn't realized he was doing everything out of obligation, not with love. The wedding night was a blur of confusion and pain. You had sat on the bed in your bridal crown, staring at the man who looked at you with nothing but coldness. He had said, I'm only doing this for my father. Don't expect anything from me. You had nodded, feeling your heart shatter a little more. You had spent the night crying silently, the weight of your reality pressing down on you. Your hopes of a loving marriage had crumbled. You lay in bed now, the same bed where you had first learned of his indifference. You had hoped foolishly that time might change things, that he might see you as his wife and not just as a woman living under the same roof. Why did you marry me, Jungkook? If you don't like me, you whispered to the darkness. Silence answered you, and as the night dragged on, you drifted into a restless sleep, tangled in dreams of a love that might never be yours. It was the next morning when you woke up. Jungkook was already dressed in his black suit, looking perfect as always. His hair was neatly styled and he was fixing his tie in front of the mirror. Good morning, you said softly, rubbing your eyes as you sat upon the bed. Morning, he mumbled back, barely glancing your way. You sighed and went to the bathroom. You took a quick shower, the cold water waking you up fully. After wrapping yourself in a towel, you stood in front of the mirror and started drying your hair. Through the reflection, you saw Jungkook putting his laptop and files into his bag. You noticed how he stole glances at you. Gathering your courage, you spoke. Jungkook, can I ask you something? He stopped what he was doing, his hands freezing over his bag zipper. Yes? You bit your lip, your heart pounding. Did you ever see me as your wife? A heavy silence filled the room. Jungkook took a step closer to you, his footsteps almost soundless on the carpeted floor. You held your breath, unsure of what he was going to say. Suddenly he reached out, gently holding your shoulders and guiding you to sit on the edge of the bed. You were shocked. This was the first time he had ever touched you so gently. Jungkook sat on his knees in front of you, resting his weight on his heels. His face was serious and his eyes searched yours. No, I never saw you as my wife. Your heart felt like it shattered into 1,000 pieces. Tears brimmed in your eyes, but you forced yourself to listen. But I saw you as a friend. He continued. A friend? You repeated, confusion clouding your mind. Jungkook nodded. I know how our marriage happened. It was because of my father's promise. I married you because he had asked me, not because I loved you. I'm sorry. You swallowed hard. I don't understand. Do you love someone else? He hesitated but then nodded slowly. Yes. The room felt colder. Then why did you marry me, Jungkook? Why did you tie me to a life where I can never have your love? For my father's promise. To save a girl from society's harsh words and judgment, he said. You let out a bitter laugh. Society? They talk for a few days, but they eventually forget. But I'm stuck living this life every day. I'm the one who feels this emptiness, who longs for something that will never be mine. Jungkook's expression softened and he looked away. I'm sorry, I didn't think about it at that time. I thought I was doing the right thing. He wiped a tear from your cheek. Who is she? The woman you love. Jungkook's lips curved into a sad smile. I met her when I was a child. She saved me from drowning. I was so scared, but she pulled me out of the water and stayed by my side until I was safe. Since then, I felt connected to her. I tried to move on to someone else as my future, but I couldn't. I keep seeing her face in my dreams. He felt a strange mix of emotions, pain, understanding, and an aching sympathy. When you love her that much, why didn't you marry her? I don't know where she is. I don't have her address or anything. I only have a memory of her face, nothing else. He confessed, his voice breaking slightly. You were stunned. You have held on to a memory all these years. You're waiting for someone you may never find? Jungkook nodded, his eyes glassy. Yes, and that's why I can't love you the way you deserve. You shouldn't have to live like this. I'm sorry for my mother's harsh words yesterday. You don't deserve that. He felt his hands on yours, his touch warm but his words cold. Wine, you don't have to stay in this marriage. You can leave if you want to. You deserve to find real love, not this emptiness. I don't know if I will ever meet her again, but I can't ask you to wait for me. Please don't stay in this marriage. Jungkook stood up, letting go of your hands. He took his bag and walked out of the room, leaving you sitting on the bed, frozen in place. As the door closed, silent tears rolled down your cheeks. How could you leave when your heart belonged to him? You had fallen in love with him despite the cold walls he had built around himself. Fate had played a cruel joke. Jungkook was waiting for a love lost in the past while you were waiting for his love in the present. Your chest tightened and the weight of his words pressed down on you. It felt like your dreams were slipping through your fingers like sand. You curled up on the bed, hugging your knees as sobs escaped your lips. Why, Jungkook? Why did fate bring us together only to keep us apart? You whispered into the silence. The room was empty, and so was your heart. You stayed there lost in your pain as the morning sun poured through the window, bright and warm, but unable to reach the cold corners of your soul. In the office, Jungkook sat behind his desk, his mind lost in thoughts of you. He had been 3 days since your conversation and he couldn't shake the image of your teary eyes and the love he saw in them. His heart felt heavy, caught between the life he wanted and the life he was living. He tapped his pen against the desk, staring blankly at the documents in front of him. No matter how hard he tried to focus, your face kept flashing before his eyes. Why can't you stop thinking about her? He muttered under his breath. A knock on the door snapped him out of his thoughts. Sir, the keys, the driver asked, standing at the door. Jungkook blinked, realizing he hadn't heard him the first time. Keys? Oh, right. He patted his pockets, trying to remember where he had put them. His fingers brushed against something in his blazer pocket, thinking it was the keys. He pulled it out and handed it over. The driver's eyes widened. Sir, this is not the key. Jungkook looked down and his breath hissed. It wasn't keys, it was a broken chain with a heart-shaped locket. His hands trembled as he held it up, his mind racing. This locker, he whispered. Memories flooded back. He remembered the uncle who saved his life was wearing the same kind of chain. He remembered now, and he was thinking how this came into his pocket. How did this get into my pocket? He questioned, confusion etched on his face. The realization hit him that morning while searching through the rooms for a file. He must have accidentally picked it from your things. His chest tightened as the truth became clearer. Could it be her? One. Tears pooled in his eyes, a smile breaking through his disbelief. It's her, it was her all along. His voice was a mix of awe and regret. Without wasting another moment, Jungkook grabbed his car key to cancel all my meetings. He told his assistant, his voice urgent. Sir, but you have an important... Cancel everything. He snapped already, heading out of the door. He rushed to his car, the engine roaring to life as he sped through the streets. His mind was whirlwind of emotions, hope, guilt, love. How could I have been so blind? He whispered, his hands gripping. Memories of every quiet moment with you, every soft smell, every time you looked at him with love flashed before his eyes. She was right there. The drive home felt longer than ever. He tapped his fingers on the steering wheel, his anxiety building. Please be there. Finally, he pulled into the driveway, his heart pounding in his chest. He rushed out of the car, not even bothering to close the door properly. "Juan!" he called out as he entered. "You were in the kitchen, washing the dishes, your mind still clouded with sadness." Hearing his voice, you turned around, wiping your hands on towels. "Jungkook, what happened? Why is home so heavy?" He stood in the doorway, breathing heavily, his eyes glossy with tears. "Why? I need to ask you something." You nodded, unsure of what was happening. "Okay." He took a step closer, holding out the locket in his trembling hand. "Is this yours?" Your eyes widened. "Where did you find that?" "It fell from your clothes this morning," he said. "You said, as it's mine, Jungkook. It was broken when I came here, so I put it in my clothes, thinking I would repair it one day." Jungkook felt like he had found a new life. He turned away, trying to control his tears. His breathing became heavy as emotions rushed through him. Before he could say anything, you took out a stack of papers from a shelf. "Jungkook, this is for you," he said softly. He turned to you, and his smile faded as soon as he saw the divorce papers. His hands trembled as he took them from you. "You don't need to live in this marriage, Jungkook," you continued. "I told myself you are not mine. We can get separated. I don't want to suffer anymore." Tears filled his eyes and fell onto the papers. His lips quivered and he looked at you with a mix of pain and disbelief. "Why, till now you left me without knowing about you, and now you're leaving me after knowing who you are?" You were confused. "What do you mean, Jungkook?" He took a shaky breath. "Yes, you're the one who saved me 15 years ago. You don't remember me? Even after hearing the story, you don't remember me?" He mentioned the place, the lake where you had pulled the boy out of the water, how his eyes looked at you with gratitude and fear. Your mind raced through old memories and suddenly everything clicked. "Jungkook," you gasped. "It was you." You had never seen his childhood photos, nor had he seen yours. Tears streamed down your face and your chest tightened with emotions. How could fate play such a game? "You loved me for all these years," you whispered. Jungkook nodded, his own tears mirroring yours. "Every day, Vine, I tried to find you, I looked for you everywhere, and then you were right here in front of me, and I was too blind to see it." Without a second thought, you wrapped your arms around him, holding him as tightly as you could. His arms enveloped you, and you both cried in each other's embrace. Years of pain, longing, and confusion melted into this one moment of truth. After what felt like an eternity, Jungkook gently pulled back, keeping your face with his warm hands. His forehead rested against yours, and your breaths mingled. You both were smiling through the tears. "I'm sorry," he said. His voice was broken and raw. "I'm really sorry for hurting you for this whole year. I was so lost. I thought I had lost you forever." He shook your head, brushing your thumbs over his wet cheeks. "I thought about how I was going to live without you, Shankar, but God had other plans. He finally made us together." He nodded a small, relieved smile breaking through his sadness. He leaned forward, pressing a soft kiss to your forehead, and then pulled you into his embrace again. His heartbeat was loud, steady, and you felt safe in his arms. This love was not just about happiness, it was about pain, patience, and forgiveness. The journey had been hard, but the destination was worth every tear. Love is not always about fairy tales, you whispered. It's about holding on through storms, about finding hope when all seems lost. Sometimes love means letting go of your pride, and other times it means standing strong with your self respect. Jungkook nodded against your hair. "I promise, one. From now on, I will love you with all my heart. No more doubts, no more distance, just you and me." You both sat there, tangled in each other's arms, knowing that the worst was over. It was a love story written by fate, sealed with tears and bound by unbreakable hearts. Thank you for watching.